Right.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Welcome, folks, to a powerful special broadcast here today. I mean, this is going to be amazing. Some of the most urgent information you could ever need to understand. And that is what is really going on with gold and the dollar and the world markets. Now, I've got three headlines in front of me, and we're going to be getting an expert in here in just a minute. One says Dutch central bank. World will need gold if the entire system collapses. And believe me, the Dutch bank there in Europe is struggling right now. And number two, they are telling us that the next recession won't be as bad as 2008. Why they are wrong. This is a headline. We're going to find out what the expert says. And number three, the real reason gold is surging and why it won't stop. And the clash, the complication, if you will, relationship that gold has with the US dollar. What does this all mean? Well, we've decided to get the expert, the man with all the answers, who is completely on top of his game, from noblegoldinvestments.com. Folks, trust me, noblegoldinvestments.com. It's Colin Plume. Colin, great to have you on the broadcast today.
Pastor Paul, it is always a pleasure, and thanks for making the time. I know you have a very busy schedule, and you're flying all over the world and helping people, and you know, you're heading off to one of my favorite places pretty soon. So just want to say thanks for spending the time. And you know, first thing that's fascinating that you mentioned was in regards to the Dutch National Bank, and you can read this article on their website, that they believe that in times of need, that gold is the perfect asset to have. And they list many of the reasons, global instability, the markets being, shaky in terms of the equity markets. And they kind of label the reasons why investors should buy gold, and reasons that you and I talk about all the time. The thing that makes it odd is that a central bank is the one that is out there saying this. You don't see a central bank. There's no benefit to a central bank right now saying that gold is a good asset, because they want you to buy bonds. They want you to help them with, perpetuating, kicking the can down the street with debt. And so when you see a central bank kind of come out and be honest and say, listen, you should have some gold in your portfolio, it's a good thing to listen to and take notice, because there's no benefit to them. In some ways it probably hurts them, and they have said that gold is something that you have to have when times get tough.
So I understand, and folks, some of you today, and what we're going to do today, if you're in the chat room, we're going to take questions today. So if you've got a question on your mind, feel free and put it in there, because we want to see what Colin will help us with some of these answers. Yeah, I mean, the Dutch central bank says the world will need gold if the entire system collapses. That's the opposite as they normally say. Is it because, Colin, they really are in jeopardy here?
I think it's just you have a central bank that is trying to just be full disclosure, and the Dutch, they don't own that much gold. They want to own more gold, but they don't have a big economy. They've been buying gold. But I think what they're trying to do is just say, listen, there's other assets out there. There's alternative assets that are important. And if you're an analyst right now and you're looking at the markets, we just started this, we're at the beginning of a bull market in gold. Typically bull markets in gold last, 6 or 7 years, sometimes longer. And we just started. So why wouldn't they say, hey, gold is a good option? Now, our Federal Reserve and our bank is not going to say that, because we have the largest debt of any country in the world, and we have the largest debt that's ever been accumulated, because our policy is just to expand the money supply, make the dollar weaker. And, the only reason we can do that is because we're the world's reserve currency, and so we have that availability to do that. So I think that when you see someone out there just be honest about what's available and give people options, it's quite shocking. And I think most investors today know that the stock market is a ticking time bomb. I don't think anybody thinks and feels comfortable having most of their net worth there. And so this bank is saying, diversify, which is what you and I kind of always talk about, is that, yeah, listen, we don't want the stock market to collapse. You say it all the time. We don't want the housing market to collapse, but you have to be prepared for these things and make sure that you have some provisions in place to make sure that you can ride through the storm.
Colin, I'm just looking at some of the comments right now. One person, Colleen Wilson, said, I finally got my settlement yesterday. I took every penny with me home, and I'm going to call Colin Plume next week. So there's somebody right there who immediately wants to get the financial advice on how to probably diversify and how to understand that.
And I'm happy that she got her settlement. Sometimes those things can be arduous to get the money that you deserve, in those situations. So I'm happy that she was able to free up some funds and definitely give us a call. Even if she gives us a call today, we can start getting some information out to her to answer some questions so she can get educated on what we do.
There you go. And you can call that number, folks, any of you, at that number is 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. You can ask for Colin or one of his associates. Colin will certainly help you, Colleen. If you call, he wrote your name down, Colleen Wilson. Now, here's what else I can tell you, Colin. Gold is at $14.91 an ounce. That's strong. And I believe going to rise. Silver's at $17.81. I think that's going to go up. Dow Jones is up 149 today. Bitcoin's down a little at 8,625. So I guess the question is here, Colin, gold, the reason gold is surging and why it won't stop. Can you help us understand that?
Well, you look at global insecurity just in terms of the markets, and the Fed in the U.S. has decided to do, even though they won't call it quantitative easing phase 4, they're expanding their buying program. They said they were going to do $80 billion. Now they're going to do $120 billion. So they're doing QE4, even though they haven't announced it. So this is going to expand the money supply, and hopefully that'll, if there's a recession coming, that could maybe make it a little bit better depending on what you believe. But they're putting our currency in jeopardy, and basically the world knows that gold is fantastic during these times, coupled with mining of gold has been significantly down for the last 10 years because, the price dropped significantly. You're looking at the drop in 2011. And so mining companies just couldn't be profitable at what they were. So mining has been down for gold and other metals. And silver today is up 2%. And I think silver is ready to explode. The value of silver is way under where it should be, based on this being a commodity that so many companies, everything what we're using to talk on right now, and computers and cell phones and everything has some silver in it. So, I think that those factors are helping the price of metals, and you're seeing a lot of hedge funds buying gold and silver. You're seeing the CEO of Overstock put $90 million of his net worth into gold and silver. Right. So it's not just the Dutch bank. It's not just average American. I mean, it's a lot of wealthy people are starting to buy and take notice. And my grandfather has said it's better to be a few days early than a few months late in terms of investments. And I think we're in a bull market since once the market crashed in 2008 and then started to move. So we're looking at 11, 12 years since it started to move back up. These bull markets, equity markets, don't last forever.
This is the longest bull market, I think, maybe in history. I don't know. Yeah. Here's a question for you, Colin. A person says, I'm a correctional officer. I have a state pension. Can you do anything with that?
Well, it depends. It depends. Those pensions, if you're still working for that employer, if you're above the age of 59 and a half years old, you may be able to move some of the money or all of it. We can look into it for you.
State of Florida,
yeah. If you leave there for any reason, you can absolutely move it into a self-directed IRA. Or you may have, if you've worked some other places, you may have an old 401k that's out there that you're not aware of, or maybe you're aware of that you just never moved. You can always move those into self-directed IRAs and back it with physical gold and silver. So that could be a great option for you if that's something that you're looking at, or maybe just looking at buying some gold and silver directly outside of that account and diversifying. We have a lot of people that have government plans, TSP plans, that once they leave, they've moved them into gold and silver, and they're very happy because there's a very limited investment options in those plans. That's the problem with those government plans, is that they only give you a few different funds to invest into, and that's pretty much it. So moving into a self-directed IRA, whether you do gold or silver is up to you, but at least you get more options, which I think most people want. They want as many options as possible. The pension system and the TSP system and the 401k system is outdated. In this world where people are buying Bitcoin, they're buying cannabis stocks, they're buying gold and silver, they're buying real estate in their IRAs, the fact that you have your money with this pension and they're going to give you, a few different funds, and you can't choose something outside of that is not a great system to be in. But obviously you have to do what you have to do. So give us a call, and we'll send you out some information, answer questions, and see if there's something that we can do to help you out.
Question on the board here for you, Colin. It's a great question. It says, is there any nations that are on the gold standard or are looking to go on the gold standard?
It's a good question. The last country on the gold standard, I think they were on a partial gold standard, was Switzerland. I think they got off in 2005 or 6, if I recall correctly. There's no nation on a gold standard now. China they released this currency called the renminbi, and there's been lots of talk about them backing it partially by gold, but they haven't done that. So everybody's on a fiat money system. In my recent podcast, I interviewed a nice young lady who wrote this book about it. It's called Bitcoin Pizza. It's an interesting book, a kind of beginner's guide to Bitcoin. And we were talking about could a country adopt Bitcoin or something else as a currency? And I would not be surprised if in the next 5 years one of these African countries adopts Bitcoin as a currency. I might be ahead of the curve on this, but I think
Zimbabwe. You think
it could? Yeah, I mean, it would make more sense, because then it would take the power of manipulation of the currency out of the hands of the dictator.
Yep.
Which that's the benefit of having a currency that's independent, and that's why the people that created Bitcoin created it, because they wanted independent currencies that couldn't be manipulated by central banks. So I'd love to see us on a partial gold-backed system. China has hinted at it. Whether they'll do it, it's hard to know. But any country that did it, I think their currency would flourish, especially right now.
Brock, some of the folks in the chat room want to thank you for the graphics and the information you're throwing up there while Colin's talking. It really is helping them. And Colin, let me just say real quick here is that if the dinar, okay, the Iraqi dinar, I get this question. I get it 5 times a week, at least, an email.
Yeah.
Any news on the dinar? There's a lot of people out there that's invested in the dinar. Have you got any information on it, and where will it get revalued? Is it still possible?
I wish I could answer that question. I get the question a lot too. Fiat money, it's hard to gauge what can happen. It's hard to think that any fiat currency could go up in value. That's in essence what we're saying, right?
Basically it is. I mean, unless Iraq went to a gold standard and revalued the dinar.
Yeah, I wish it happened, but I don't really know. I think that like I was saying, I think these Bitcoin or one of these cryptocurrencies have more of a chance to grow in value if a country were to take it on, or gold. these things are, it comes down to being fungible. Like being fungible means it's easy to trade and barter. Gold is like that. Silver is like that. Bitcoin is like that. Both parties can transact business, and they can do it on a big scale or a long scale, just in terms of volume or price. The Iraqi dinar it's so limited in scope because there's just not many people that are going to accept it. I mean, even if you look at, when the euro started, the euro's, 15, 16 years old, something in that. At first, not everybody accepted it, wanted it, because, there's always a general distrust of fiat money. And that's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
If you go back in history, I mean, if you look at, they're really cool. If you look at notes from, the Civil War before, I mean, there was tons of different currencies. Each state had their own currency, and then they would devalue. They would just print 1 million of them, and then they'd be worth nothing. And those, in Zimbabwe, that happened, and that wasn't that long ago. That was 2007. So
right.
I have a hard time thinking that any fiat currency could go up the way that they have said it could. People have said it could go up with the dinar. It just doesn't seem to make sense in my mind.
Some folks make different comments in there, statements and questions. The phone number again to call is 877-646-5347. If you want to call Colin or one of his associates, that number again is 877-646-5347. That's noblegoldinvestment.com. Guys, remember, those of you may not remember, but the Bible tells us that when Jesus was approached by the tax collectors, he realized that the amount of money owed in tax between him and his disciples was quite significant. He said, make sure you give Caesar that's Caesar's, but give the Lord what is the Lord's. And so he said, here, catch a fish. They caught this fish and they opened the mouth, and in it was a very rare gold coin. It was so expensive, Colin, that it paid the back taxes for Jesus and all the disciples. It was gold, okay? Just remember that, guys. Fiat does not seem to show up in any fish's mouth, but gold will. And it's all through the Bible. Gold was used to plate the Ark of the Covenant. It is gold that was on the inside of the temple. It was gold, and it was a golden pot that held the manna. I could go on forever. Even one of the 3 gifts brought to Jesus by the wise men was gold. So it is a biblical currency that will never go away. I can promise you that. And when you get to heaven, you get to walk on it. Okay? So believe me, it is a part of the kingdom of God. But remember, you got to also give the Lord what's the Lord's. Okay? Don't think you can get past that one. Hey, Colin, let me read this real quick. Politics, monetary policy, and the slowing of the economy have all been cited as primary factors behind gold's bullish breakout in 2019. While these catalysts cannot be discounted, the real reason gold is surging and why it will continue to do so is the trend is real. Interest rates relative to inflation. Only by understanding this relationship can one make sense of gold's rock solid performance in facing a rising dollar. This is a complication that people have not been understand. Can you help us understand how can gold be going up and the dollar going up if we're not on a gold standard? Isn't that kind of counterproductive, or are we in a different economy?
Well, the dollar is only going up relative to other currencies. It's not going up relative to gold.
Okay.
So I just think that when you look at the dollar on the day-to-day, inflation is not reported properly. There's no way that if you manipulate the CPI at 1.9%, then you could say that the dollar in our, in the United States relative is performing well. But if you really look at the cost of living going up between 9 and 10%, which is what I believe it actually is, then you can't say the dollar is really performing well. So it's all how you look at the numbers. And I think that most people, if they looked at how the cost of everything has gone up, I mean, gasoline is back up again. All the things that you're buying every day, energy costs. There's so few things that aren't going up pretty dramatically right now. Insurance. I mean, there's not one thing that hasn't gone up that's going to affect your pocketbook on a day-to-day. So, these fiat money situations where we're creating more debt is not going to help the cost of goods. There's just no way around it. Gold is up 14.5% from January to now.
That's huge.
That's a good number. That's the number that people call me and say, listen, if I can just make 7 to 10% safe, I'm happy. If I make more, great. But if I can make that, then I think I'm doing okay. And I think when you have your portfolio right now, and people even call me and you say, oh, you love gold and silver, and you talk about real estate. Do you have any stocks? Of course I have stocks. My wife has a 401k. We are diversified, just like we tell everybody else. But am I concerned about the price of the stock market? Yes and no. No, because I'm in my early 40s. My wife's, she's a few years younger than I am. We have a lot of time to go through the cycles. Right. We can deal with the cycles. We're not retiring anytime soon.
Right.
But if you are close to retirement, that's when you have to be more cautious. You have to be more conservative. And that's what gets people, that's why people call us a lot of times, because they're closer and they want to kind of hedge their bet in terms of it. And you know this more than anything. You talk to people all the time. You're always talking to people. And as you get older and you have this nest egg, that's when you really got to be cautious. That's when you really got to protect it and make sure that you have access to it, which you do with gold and silver, that it's liquid. That's the beauty behind gold and silver compared to annuities, compared to real estate. Gold and silver is liquid. Those items, annuities typically are not liquid at all. You have to stay in a minimum for 5 years, minimum 3 years. Real estate, you got to find a buyer and there's fees. That's the beauty behind gold and silver. You buy it at the beginning of the year and you have it now and you want to sell it, you can sell it and you can get out of it quickly. You can get out of it in a day. So I think that there is a value in that. Just beyond the price going up, there's a value in liquidity, which gold and silver allows you to have.
Colin, I guess when people call you a typical call, you will ask them, I guess, where they're at in their life cycle. I mean, how old are you? Or they'll share that information with you.
We are not financial advisors, so I can't give. What I'm saying is just from my experience and just talking to people every day. So I can't tell somebody, buy Ford, but that's not my job. Basically, what we do is help them acquire what we do, which is a physical asset, gold and silver. But we build relations. If you read our reviews, you go to TrustLink or Consumer Affairs or the BBB, you read our reviews, you can see that every review, they're mentioning the representative on the phone, they're mentioning our staff, they're mentioning the personal relationship, and they all have a personal relationship with us because that's what we do. We build relationships with people, and that's how we've always done our business. It's a family business, and that's what's important, and that's what's missing in today's financial world. People call us and say, and I'm not going to mention the companies, but they'll say, these custodians won't even talk to me because I don't have $250,000 in the bank. Yeah. And that is true. I've heard that statement hundreds of times since I've been doing this. It's ridiculous. Why wouldn't a big institution, one of the ones you see on TV, not talk to a regular person because they don't have, they're not $250,000 in retirement. It's crazy. So,
right.
We deal with all size portfolios. We help people. We listen. We pick up the phone. The market's up. The market's down. We're going to be here. And I think that's why we built this the way it's
I think that's why you're so successful. Folks, this is Colin Plume with us today at noblegoldinvestment.com. Now, look, this is a Christian company. They're family owned. And you just heard the personal relationship they build with their clients and the people that call. And you may say, I don't know what I should do, or here's what I'm thinking. They'll help you through that, and they'll give you good, solid advice. But at the same time, they'll help it make it easy. And don't forget, they got the great Trump coin. You always could go to www.trumpcoin2020.com. That's www.trumpcoin2020.com. Use that promo code Paul Begley. Save the money. You can get the Trump coin. You can get the new, which I love, the new Trump coin. We're showing you the different graphics of them there on the screen. Guys, get the coins. They're great to have. But also, you have to ask yourself a question. Where are you at in your life cycle? Obviously, if you're up older, you're not gonna climb the mountain twice. You've been there, you've done that. Now you got to protect that nest egg a little bit. And remember, the Lord says people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. A lot of times, folks need to make themselves aware of their surroundings, aware of the economy, aware of where they're going, and pray, and then get good, solid advice, and then make the right decisions based on that. So, Colin, there's another question.
Absolutely.
Question: which comes first? Someone just said, a gold standard or a beast kingdom? There you go. There's your prophecy question.
That's and one thing I was going to go when you were talking about climbing the mountain. The one thing I will say is Pastor Paul will climb the mountain again forever because you do it every day.
We keep climbing, man. I'm gonna keep climbing.
You always are climbing the mountain.
I'll climb until, like Moses, I'll be on the top.
You're gonna be pretty close to where that was all going down too.
I'm going to Israel. I'm going to Israel before you answer this biblical prophecy question, Colin. You've been to Israel, so the folks are going. How safe is Israel, Colin? Tell the people.
It's very safe. I think that what you see in the news, a lot of times is scary because a lot of times it can be blown out of proportion, what's happening there. But I've had, a number of times I've been there, I've not only been welcomed by everybody there, all religions and all races, never had an issue, never had a bad meal, and really it's a really fascinating place. Everything you read in the Bible has happened there. When you go to the Old City or the Wailing Wall, it's fascinating, and people talk about how certain religions can't get along. You go to the Old City, every religion is there. Yep. They're all there, living within blocks of each other. And a lot of times, the skirmishes that you hear about are not there. They're usually at the borders. Right. So I think it's a place that everybody should absolutely go. And going over the border and seeing where Jesus was and where he was born and all of that is also really important. And that's, they just put the wall up, I think 15 years ago. You used to just be able to drive from into the right area there in Nazareth. But I think people that haven't gone are missing out on a really interesting part of the world. And it's an old kind of, newer city, in terms of Tel Aviv and some of those places, and you have a lot of religion there and interesting things happening. And then, if you go into the Old City, your mind will be blown and you'll be so happy that you went. And there's an energy, there's an absolute energy. And if you don't feel it, then something's dead inside of you, because there's something really powerful happening there.
Yes, it is. And you explained it perfectly. It really is amazing, folks.
Yeah, powerful. It is. I would say if you stay for a few weeks, expect to put on 10, 20, 30 pounds in terms of weight.
The food is phenomenal, isn't it? The food is just fantastic.
It's absolutely fantastic.
And real, by the way,
I think the gold standard is not that. I think China, honestly, and I hate to say this, but I think China is going to make a push to try to get on a goal. And not that I have anything vested in that happening. Obviously, I have nothing vested. It just seems like they are more forward thinking in terms of the markets, in terms of the financial markets. And I think they could pull it off. I just think our debt here makes it unattainable for us, because we don't have enough gold to even back up all the debt that we have.
We don't, do we?
No.
So you don't see us ever pulling that off. I mean, because unless the government did some kind of debt forgiveness to itself.
That's not going to happen, because every country is holding our bond debt, so they're not just going to forgive it. So I think if it was going to happen, it's probably China. And I think they not only have the resources to pull it off, but they've always been someone that's pushed to buy more gold. China and Russia are the two biggest net buyers of gold over the last 5 years. So
you're basically saying The beast kingdom will come before there's a gold standard. I have to say I agree with you. I don't see a gold standard coming before a beast system, and then that kingdom and that system I don't want to be a part of, but that's one that's probably coming first. So how close are we, folks? Well, that's only between the Lord. He knows, but we're living in some different times. That's for sure. We're in the last days. Call, again, pick up the phone, folks. Call him. 877-646-5347. Speak to Colin or one of his associates over there at noblegoldinvestment.com and learn what's going on. Go visit his website. That's noblegoldinvestments.com and learn what they got going on there to understand. It's good to educate yourself, to understand what's happening.
Absolutely.
Think of the taxes, Colin. What are we going to do if just, I don't want to go political here, but I was just listening to Elizabeth Warren's what she said she's going to do, and can somebody tell me how we're going to pay for that?
I don't know. I think, when you look at our tax structure, first of all, it's already so confusing. We have a very difficult and ever-changing tax structure that no one can really, no one can even figure out how it works. But these. Paying off student debt for everyone, and it sounds, grandiose, and it sounds like it could be great, but then you got to say, how do we pay for that, and how do we move forward with the economy where we're already in tremendous debt right now? I don't think the American people can withstand another tax increase of any type. And I think, that we're just talking federally, you get into the states, and as much as, when you look at these analyses, our taxes relative to other countries aren't as high, but then they don't factor in our local taxes. I mean, some of our state and local taxes are very onerous for business owners, for property owners. I've heard people, getting increased property tax bills because some of their people in the town couldn't afford it. And so they ended up, covering the cost, because obviously you have to pay for, fire department and police department and things of that nature. So I don't think there's a straight line in terms of what's happening with our tax code. I think that, people forget about these local taxes that we're all, having. Some states have state tax, some don't. These are all things that people forget about. So I don't know how they're going to pay for it. I think that I think it's a big question, and hopefully we don't see any tax increases. Obviously,
let's hope not. One thing I did hear, they're talking about rolling back the tax cuts that Trump gave us. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders both said they would roll back the Trump tax cut, plus add unbelievable taxes on the top 1%. But then they said, but then also tax the middle class. Well, and then like you said, look at the taxes, state taxes. Look at the taxes of California, Illinois, New York, and some of these states. It's really high, folks. Their local taxes are high, and that's tough on people.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, they say by 2033. They say close to 50% of people are going to be small business owners, and a lot of these state and local taxes are against small business owners. Yeah. So I think that if we do nothing, in my opinion, our revenue will go up just because there's going to be more people that are self-employed. They're going to have to pay these taxes, and I think that'll help our debt situation just by that happening alone, because as you know, as a business owner, there's always some state tax, there's some, something that you have to pay for, and that, hopefully goes to pay for some of the things that we need. So I think if we don't do anything, we leave it as is, I think we'll see things kind of move in the right direction, because more people are becoming self-employed and they are moving in that direction. And those are the facts. There's no disputing that more people are going to be self-employed in the future. And we don't want to hamstring those people right now with higher taxes on their personal income when they're going to be going out and hopefully generating more money for the economy.
Folks, Colin Plume, noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestments.com. You can pick up the phone and call them over there, 877-646-5347. I tell you, it's a great company. They're great people, Colin. And how's the babies doing, Colin? How's the baby?
It's I'm in baby land. It's going great. They're getting bigger. The twins are going to be a year next month, and it's really.
Are they walking? Are they walking yet?
No, they're not. They're kind of. They're getting there. They're getting pretty close, but they're.
Okay. They'll be walking come Christmas. It's going to be a great time at your house. All right. So be blessed. All right.
Absolutely. And it's always a pleasure. And you have a safe flight, and we'll definitely be in touch when you get back into town.
We'll talk to you next month. God bless.
Thanks,
all right, folks. There you go. Enjoy today, guys. Thank you, Colin. We'll be back next time right here on the Coming Apocalypse.